Hi everyone and welcome to this episode. In this episode I will give you 5 tips and tricks how to succeed with your new telescope, especially if you are a beginner into astronomy and really how to avoid these beginner mistakes. Every year there is thousands of people that buy their first new telescope full of excitement. They just want to put it up, set it up, point it at the sky, and unfortunately some weeks later the telescope and equipment ends up for sale. And I really don't want that happening to you. So in this episode I will give you 5 really essential tips and tricks how to succeed, how to dramatically improve your experience with your first new telescope and your equipment. But before we dig into these 5 tips and tricks from my side, I just want to explain a little bit about this channel. So the Astronomy Guide is a new channel. We are present at YouTube and Instagram. This channel will cover everything: how to choose the right telescope for you, with the correct telescope type, the correct mounting type, um, a lot of different accessories, how to choose the right accessories for what you want to observe. Also how to align, calibrate it, a lot of DIY tutorials, um, astronomy software, how to prepare your session, your observing session, and a lot more. So this channel will cover everything about astronomy. And so let's dig into the tips and tricks. And here comes tips number 1. The most of the telescopes that you buy comes with a pre-assembled tripod. And this is the first beginner mistake, I would say. Make sure that the tripod, the base, is firmly and stable. They come often pre-assembled with the legs and the bolts here, but make sure when you put it up, make sure it's really stable, that it's a good base for your telescope. If that's not the case, make sure to tighten the screws a little bit. Not too hard, because often these parts are made of plastics and you don't want them to break. But make sure that they are tightened correctly, even though they are pre-assembled from the factory. They can be loose and make it unstable. So this is really important. There is different types of tripods, of course, but often you can extend the legs. Make sure to tighten the screws firmly, not too tight, not too loose. You don't want one leg to retract when you have set it up. So make sure good force when you tighten, but not too hard. And if there is an accessory tray, also make sure some of them is that you should turn them to lock the triangle that stabilizes the legs. Some of them has a center rod like this and are tightening up underneath. And the same again, tighten it firmly, not too hard, but the most important is feel and make sure that the base is stable. This is really important because your telescope needs to have a firm base. And if you have a telescope that does not come with a tripod, and maybe you have this type of mount for your telescope, make sure that the table you are using or whatever you have underneath is stable. You don't want it to have a lot of vibrations. This will completely destroy your sight when you look into the eyepiece. So this is really tips number 1. Make sure that the tripod or the base underneath is stable, correctly assembled, and creates a good base for the telescope. So let's dig into tips number 2. And I would say this is the most common that the most beginners give up and ends up selling their equipment. And it's actually about the finder scope. There is two most common types, I would say the red dot finder or the regular optical finder scope. And I will show you, I will turn this telescope around and try to make a better view of the finder scope. So on this telescope there is a red dot finder. It has a little knob where you turn it on, and in the glass piece, in the lens, in the finder scope, it will appear a red dot. And the red dot finder and the optical finder scope works more or less the same how to use it, not the technology behind. But the idea behind is that you look in the finder scope up in the sky and you move your telescope and align this, maybe it's a bright star, in the center of your finder scope. This is the first thing to find an object, and then you look into the telescope and you have much stronger magnification. In the red dot finder is no magnification at all, and in the optical one there is some magnification. But one thing, if you think that you can just screw the finder scope onto your telescope and that's okay, please think again, because that's not the case. You need to align your finder scope with your telescope. It doesn't care if it's a red dot finder or if it's an optical finder. They need to be aligned. I will make a separate video exactly on how to do it, but I will go through briefly now on how to align your finder scope with your telescope. And it's more or less the same procedure for both of these type of telescopes that I have here. There is some differences between the telescope manufacturers or the type of the finder scope. But I will show you here on this the red dot finder. I will not go extremely into detail, but just briefly how to do. You should also find this in the manual of your telescope and start there. Make sure to read about how you first mount the finder scope onto your telescope in a proper way, and then how to align it. But as I say, I will go through very briefly how to do it. So go outside in daylight, choose an object that is on a good distance, and make sure that this object can't be mixed up with something else. If you have a forest, for example, yes, if there is a unique tree that is higher than the rest of the other one, if there is a television tower or something like that, this is good. So start by looking into your finder scope. Look through the lens and move your telescope so that the object that you have chosen is in the center of the lens. Then you can take an eyepiece. For example, a 25 millimeter eyepiece is a good it's a good eyepiece to start when you do this alignment. And try to see the object that you've chosen into your telescope. And now a little bit of tricky part begins, because maybe you don't see the object at all. But try to move the telescope in small movements on the side, up, down, and see if you can find the object. And this is the crucial step, because now you need to see it, but if that's not the case, this is why it's so important to have an object that you're certain that this is the object I'm looking at, both in the finder scope and the telescope. But okay, align first in the finder scope, look into the telescope, and you can see now a deviation maybe. So if it's more to the right in the telescope than in the finder scope, then it means that you need to move your finder scope a little bit to the right. So the whole aim of this exercise is to find an object, make sure it is in the center of the finder scope, and in the center of the eyepiece in your telescope. Then you have successfully aligned both your finder scope and your telescope, and this will be a dramatical change. If you don't do this, you go out in under the night sky, you set up your telescope, and you are really excited and want to see something nice in the sky. You find a bright star, you look into the finder scope you center it, you look into your telescope, and it's completely darkness. This is not something really funny, and as I say, it will end up be a lot of frustration, and I think you will give up sooner or later. So this is really important. I can't say it too many times. Align your finder scope with your telescope. Exactly how to align the finder scope with in this case there is two different knobs, one for up and down and one for right and left. But refer to your manual of your telescope or your finder scope to see exactly how to align it or how to adjust it. But as I say, I will make a dedicated video exactly how to do it. But don't try to align it under the night sky. Do it in daylight, but be careful. Don't put your telescope against the sun. I will have a special video also about warnings, but I will mention this many times. Never point your telescope at the sun. It is possible, but you need to be really careful and you need some special equipment. But this will be a completely special episode about this. But for now, never point your telescope at the sun. Tips number 3 from my side is about your dark vision. When you go out and want to do an observing session, it takes approximately 20 to 30 minutes for the eyes to adapt to the dark. So go out, set up your equipment, your telescope, and when you're ready, first of all, the telescope needs to cool down, acclimatize a little bit with our surrounding environment and the temperature. But now it's also time to turn off as much light as possible. You want the environment to be as dark as possible. But of course, this can be a little bit problematic. Maybe you have some eyepieces stored on the accessory tray under the telescope. Maybe you have a power bank or something on the ground. And maybe you want to, or you need to see something. And when it's dark, it can be really tricky. But don't turn on your flashlight on your phone. Don't use the headlights on your car if you are out in the field. This will completely crash your dark vision. So let me show you a tips. A red torch. This red light will actually preserve your night vision, and it comes really handy. This is actually a standard flashlight torch that I have bought, and I have made it as a red torch by myself. I will create a special episode, a DIY tutorial on how to do this and how to make it by your own. So don't forget to follow this channel, and I will show you this. But this is really handy. As I say, you can buy them in a lot of astronomy stores or stores that have astronomy equipment. Um, but it's a good gadget to have with you on your observing session. Tips number 4 is plan your observing session. Don't just go out with your telescope, set it up, point it at the sky, and just hope for the best. No, do some homework before. Go download some astronomy app. Again, I will create episodes about different astronomy apps, how to use them, and so on. But there is PC software, there is apps, there is books, there is a lot of information to view and that can help you before your observing session. And why I say this is make a plan. What do you want to see tonight? How is the observing conditions outside? And often these apps, these softwares has something called tonight's best. Either they feel where you are in the world, and the time and the date, or you put it in manually, and it will show you what's in the night, what's in the sky tonight. And also, if you have like a go-to telescope, a computerized telescope, it's the same. It often have a function. It's called tonight's best or what's in the sky tonight, something like this. I will try to make videos every month to talk a little bit about what's in the sky this month. I can't promise anything now, but I will try to have it every month. So let's see. I will also see a little bit from of the feedback from this channel and what you want to see, of course. But plan your sessions. Don't just go out, hope for the best. Make a list. What do you want to see? What type of objects? And have a goal. A goal for that night, that observing session. And if you come to an object, it's not visible, there is no good visibility today, tonight. Okay, skip it, go to the next one, but have a plan. This will make it a lot more easier when you are out in the cold maybe and you don't find the object, your find the scope telescope are not aligned. It will just create a lot of frustration. And as I say, there can be an object that you really want to see. Take the Saturnus, for example, and you don't really get there. You don't get a good view. Okay, what's next? If you don't have a plan, let's keep it. Go inside and take a warm cup of tea instead. So plan before you go out under the night sky, and you see that it will be a game changer. And now we actually have come to the fifth and the last tips in this episode. When you buy a telescope, I always recommend get familiar with your tripod, your mount, and telescope. It's important. This is equipment that is technology advanced, and you don't want to go out. This is goes hand in hand with planning your observing session. You don't want to come out, stand out in the cold, and don't understand of how do I set up the tripod, how do I mount the telescope on the tripod on the top plate, how do I align it, how do I adjust it, and so on. So make sure I don't. I know I'm the one kind of a person by myself that I don't really like to read manuals, but for my telescopes, I really do. They are really handy and give you a lot of tips and tricks also of how to do it properly. So really take your time, be inside, set up your telescope, make sure that it's stable, get familiarized how you mount the telescope onto the top plate, how to attach it firmly and secure it well. You don't want your telescope to end up on the ground. I can promise you that. And it doesn't really care which type of mount you have. This is a digital computerized telescope. This is a more manual one. It also have a drive system to follow objects in the sky, but there is different um, procedures on how to align them, how to maneuver them, and this is something that you want to have a feeling for before you go out and do your observing session. So yes, this is all the 5 tips and tricks from my side. So to summarize these 5 tips and tricks in a summary, tips number 1: make sure that the tripod, the base is stable and make a good sturdy base for your telescope. Tips number 2: make sure that your finder scope is aligned with your telescope. Tips number 3 is to protect your dark vision so that you will have the best possible conditions for your observing session. Tips number 4 is to use a planetary software or an app to plan your upcoming observing session. And tips number 5 is to make sure that you are familiarized with your telescope, with your mount and your tripod or base like this. so you know how to use it, how it works. This is really the five essential tips to succeed with your new telescope and for you as a beginner into astronomy. So once again, I hope that you find this helpful, inspiring, and please comment, like, subscribe to this channel. Tell me what you want to see. Tell me about your struggles that you have found when you are new with your telescope, you're into astronomy, and I will try to answer as good as possible. And if there is a lot of questions about one or more thing, I will try to create an episode about that. So let's fill this channel with a lot of good information, tips and tricks. We can help each other. And please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions. And upcoming videos will be everything from how to choose your first telescope, different telescope mounts, how to make this red flashlight, for example, and a lot more is coming. And as I said earlier, I will try to make every month what's in the sky this month. So, or upcoming month, because you want to know it the month before. Okay, so this was all for this episode. Thank you so much, and be successful now with your new telescope and into astronomy. See you later. Thank you. Bye.